Good morning and welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. What the heck is going on? After classified documents were found at Donald Trump's home last year, and this month, the discovery of classified documents in President Biden's home in Delaware, now comes word that classified documents were found in the home of Trump's former Vice President, Mike Pence. What do we make of this? And does it cancel out the fact that documents were found in Trump and Biden's homes? And Barack Obama, do you got any? Also, after more mass shootings, Democrats in Congress and the Senate have introduced legislation to ban assault weapons. Haven't we heard that one before? And a real life drama is unfolding on a certain Facebook page after a photo was posted that revealed something very shocking about a woman who thought she was a widow. The details are interesting to say the least in this What Would You Do mystery. We'll have some fun with that. But first, this morning, it is happening, at least it appears so. An indictment against former President Trump appears imminent in Georgia. We discuss all that and more with Austin Cooper of the Washington Informer. Austin, how you doing?
Brother, good morning. Good to see you as always, and hello to your viewers, your listeners.
Well, Austin, a Georgia prosecutor investigating Donald Trump and his allies for criminal interference in the state's 2020 presidential election told a judge that decisions on whether and whom to charge in the probe are, quote, imminent. Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis cited that plan during a hearing in Atlanta, where she urged the judge to keep sealed for now a final special grand jury report that was assembled to gather evidence and hear testimony for that investigation. But her main target has long been Donald J. Trump, and she says indictments are imminent. Austin, is Fannie Willis the one to finally bring Donald Trump in front of a jury?
I'm hoping that the attorney will be the first of many individuals in the justice system to finally hold Donald Trump accountable for his crimes of, well, what's he, 74, 75? So if he's 74, 75, I'm willing to say, I'll cut him 6 or 7 years, but I think he's been engaged in criminal, immoral activity from the time he was a child. So I'm hoping and praying that these indictments do
Evil.
do find exactly. Some folks the Bible says everyone is open for redemption, and I firmly believe that. But with him, Donald J. Trump, I got to admit there are times when I've had my doubt. I always say, how can someone not sink lower? And time again, he proves that I can sink lower than I did the last time. But seriously, I'm hoping that the indictment does come. I don't know how you do not indict. You
Well,
know,
yeah,
uh,
that's it, right? How do you not?
yeah. I mean, how do you not? I mean, he is on record. We heard him. We heard him,
Mhm.
and thank goodness. I guess it was the Secretary of State. Had the guts enough. He was coming under so much pressure during that time period that he taped the call,
Yeah.
and we hear Donald Trump saying in his voice, no one else's voice, his voice, that he needs with 11,300, 11,700 votes. What's the big deal? Give me a break. That's him, and that is breaking the law. And this grand jury has heard from the former Secretary of State. They have heard from other officials who themselves were the victims
Mhm.
of this abuse from the president of the United States. And here's something I think we also have to look at, Stacey, when this indictment hopefully comes down. The protection of the jury,
Mhm.
the protection
Mhm.
of the
Mhm.
jurors, because we see
Yep.
how and I'm wondering if there was a correlation between her statement yesterday in court saying that she does not want this to be released just yet or until the indictment.
Yep.
I would bet that, because you remember how Trump and his allies and his supporters verbally abused and harassed the poll workers, the mother and her daughter, or the mother and her granddaughter. I forgot what the relationship was. They were just honored at the White House a few weeks ago. So we also, when this indictment comes down, it doesn't just end there. Obviously,
Right.
his team will appeal, but we also need to be concerned about the safety of these jurors, because those names will get out.
Well, that is an issue, and that's why they sequester jurors. But if you recall, and if my memory serves me correct, it was John Gotti, where they had one panel come in, and the panel that actually voted to convict him was a hidden panel behind the original panel. And they may
That's
have to
right.
do
I
something
forgot
like that.
about
You
that.
never
Yep.
knew. I don't think to this day
Mhm.
we know members of that Gotti jury that convicted Gotti, because you remember he was the Teflon Don. He kept beating all the raps. In this case with Trump, as you are putting it, they may have to take such measures. And I think the prosecutor in Georgia, she's very cognizant of that.
Yeah, and keep in mind, Georgia is Georgia is Georgia, and there are still a lot of Trump supporters in Georgia. So
Mhm.
unless they take serious precautions, like you just mentioned, what they did at the Gotti trial, I'm very concerned. Hell, I would be concerned about serving on the jury.
Well, yeah, yeah. That's the other thing too. And that, when they have their voir dire process, that's something that prosecutors have to be very wary of two things: folks reluctant to serve, and the ones who are eager to serve on that jury.
Exactly, exactly,
And
exactly.
so
It's
so
going to
they
be.
have to be very, very careful. It's interesting because Willis, she has from day one, she has been steadfast that she is not going to be. She's unmoved. She's not going to be
Yep,
moved. She's going after this guy. She said outwardly she believes he's committed felonies, and she's going
and he
after him.
has. Hmm.
And yeah, all the evidence points to that. But in New York, the district attorney in Manhattan, according to a number of ADAs, had a very strong case against a criminal case against Donald Trump, but they refused to prosecute, leading to a mass exodus from that Manhattan district attorney's office. Those ADAs walked out, they quit. They couldn't understand why they were not prosecuting Donald Trump. But in Georgia, Fannie Willis she's been unmoved. She has moved forward. They had a special grand jury. They made their recommendations. But the thing with a grand jury in Georgia is they don't issue indictments. It's up to the district attorney at that point. In
Exactly.
other places, you get a grand jury, they
Different.
decide.
Hmm.
So,
No,
you know,
and the decision by the district attorney up in New York City, a brother, not to move forward to this day still baffles me. To the
yeah,
point where I wonder, was he involved some type of bribe or some type of a payoff? I mean, as you mentioned, several assistant DAs, who had been working on this case, who had gathered all of the evidence, and I'm sure it's equally convincing as is Prosecutor Willis's case down in Georgia.
hmm
Yet he decides, for reasons still not clear to me, why this is not worth going forward. I mean, I understand that the job of a prosecutor is to make certain you have a solid case. I mean, end of the day,
right,
you want a conviction. But if the evidence is there, and I do believe the evidence is there, and some of that evidence we're going to never find out
right.
because the case has basically been shut down in New York. But again, getting back to Attorney Willis, I'm thankful for her courage, thankful for her commitment to doing the right thing and holding the 45th president of the United States accountable on at least one of the many crimes and misdemeanors and everything else that he did
Because
during his 4 years as
Wisconsin,
president.
Wisconsin can do the same if they choose to, right? Because he did
if
this
they choose.
pretty much the same thing in Wisconsin. I
Hmm.
guess there in Georgia it was so much more overt because you have him on tape in Georgia, whereas you don't have that in Wisconsin. Power 96 says hopefully that writes in from YouTube says hopefully Herschel Walker is not on the jury. Remember though, Power 96, he's not a Georgia citizen. He he was only running for the somehow ran for the Senate out of Georgia when he's a Texas resident.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we
I
will
think
get
I think Brother Herschel is just enjoying laying laying low
he's
and
enjoying not
seek
having to put a sentence together.
exactly. Subject and verbs, more than 5 times a day can be problematic for Herschel
Oh
Walker.
gosh. Well, listen, along those lines, a lawyer for former Vice President Mike Pence discovered about a dozen classified documents in his Indiana home. Um, First and foremost, let's start this way. Obama, do you have documents?
I
Is there a
know, I
chance you
know.
might have documents, Barack? Because they coming for you too. The-
Absolutely, absolutely.
this this
If
is
I
absurd.
were, yeah, yeah. You wonder what what the process entails when you're packing up documents and belongings, and from a president and a vice president. I know when I move, I just put things in boxes. I'm not just dumping things in a box. I take the time to go through, and I throw out a lot of stuff. I don't know how, unless you're Herschel Walker, you could be packing up presidential, vice presidential documents and not see a folder clearly marked classified,
Classified.
whatever color it is, and you're in the president's inner circle. Not, to be doing that, you have to have some type of security clearance. How
Right.
can you not pull that aside and show it to the chief of staff, show it to the president?
Someone.
Should this go? Now, I don't think that I'm not a Mike Pence supporter, but I do believe him
Hmm.
when he said he had no idea these documents were there. I do. I don't believe. I believe. I do believe Joe Biden when
Okay.
he said he was not aware those documents were there. I
Well,
do
here's the
not
difference.
believe Donald Trump.
But and there's a big difference in this, and it's not just pick on Trump, but there's a big difference. Trump, he refused to turn them over, some of the documents over,
Over a
and
year.
yeah, I held on to them and held, and before it elevated to this level, escalated to this level, they kept trying to get him to voluntarily turn those documents over. It
Mhm.
took the Department of Justice to go in and get it, and then the amount. There was a few documents found comparatively to in Biden's house and in Pence's house. Trump had a treasure trove.
Like over 300, and there were. Can you imagine negotiating with the former president between the National Archives and the Justice Department to return classified
Classified
documents?
documents.
And again, that goes to white privilege. Because had that been Barack Obama, there would not have been any. Well,
Well,
first of
that
all,
raid
Obama.
that you saw
Exactly.
that raid you saw in Mar-a-Lago, it would have resulted in Obama coming out. It'd have been the perp walk of
Exactly.
all perp walks.
Exactly.
So
No, but
let's
I'm
be real.
hoping that, yeah, I'm hoping that if I were President Obama, I would be having my aides,
Yeah, they got it.
proactively go through just to make certain. If I were Bill Clinton, I would have my
Yeah,
aides going through,
George
Al
W.
Gore,
Yeah,
even Jimmy Carter should be having folks, going through.
Jimmy Carter's
Just to
500
be
years old.
safe.
They better not
Yeah,
borrow old
exactly.
James.
Just to be safe.
Oh man. But yeah, I don't know how it happens. I can't even think of a scenario as to how this happens.
Eh,
We had not
mhm.
heard about this in the past. I'm trying to think, like going
Never.
back to the first Bush to Reagan, like you said,
Never,
Carter,
never,
for
never,
even Nixon.
never, never.
I have not heard of that.
Only when it came public, last summer or a year before, that Donald Trump was holding classified documents, refusing to turn them over, that I think most Americans, well, certainly I said, A president can take national security, classified documents. I mean, how does that happen? And here's the sad thing with these revelations, however well intended by the by President Biden and former Vice President Pence, it weakens
Oh,
it
yeah.
weakens the case against
Donald
Donald
Trump.
Trump. And at the end of the day, Republicans are going to say you judged him this way
Yeah.
and you judged them this way,
Yeah.
and it's not fair.
Yeah.
And the average American is going to, well, far too many Americans, particularly Trump supporters, will say it's unfair. So I don't know how this is going to end, but I do firmly believe that the case against Trump is significantly weakened with each of these revelations. And here's the deal: one final point, if I may, Stacey.
Mhm.
They said that the vice president proactively, had his aides, search the premises and then
Mhm.
contact the FBI or the Justice Department or whomever. One of my points of annoyance with President Biden is why didn't he do this when this process was taking place, when these negotiations were going on? He may not have known the details, but you're the president. You have, I mean, you at least have some knowledge that there may be some issues with the former president in classified document. We
Mhm.
cannot go into any more
Well,
detail.
well, Austin, maybe that speaks to, and again, it's not to speak for or even try and make an excuse for Biden, but maybe that speaks to the fact that he simply was caught up. He didn't know. Maybe he
I
didn't know
believe you
he
know.
had those documents.
No, I mean, I don't believe that he knew. I think that, with the exception of Trump, I think Trump was deliberate
Well,
in
Trump
terms of what
demonstrated that he
document
knew
that
he
he,
had
yeah,
them.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But with the former vice president and with the president, I think at that level, you rely on age to pack up documents, and
Mhm.
they, take them to your home or take them to your office, and they store them, and you don't even know what's there.
And I know presidents, they get a boatload of money. Every president gets a boatload of money to write a book afterwards. And is it that maybe they're taking documents just to help aid their writing the book?
Well, I mean, could be, but I remember hearing when President Obama was writing his book, or when his book came out, he was being interviewed, and he said, he took copious notes
Mhm.
during a lot of meetings. But I also recall him saying that there were instances where he had to go to a particular secured facility to review documents that were no longer in his no longer in his possession, for the sole purpose of making certain that what he was putting in his book was indeed accurate and was not in any way damaging to U.S.
Mhm.
national security interests.
Yeah. Well, Paris Brown of the Baltimore Times writes that I believe that was the purpose to weaken the case against Trump. And David Youngblood says Trump obstructed. No one else has. And of course, Power 96 says, tell those Republicans now they know how it feels to be black in America. We are judged different 364 days of the year. So we get one day off, huh? Shucks. And Mike V says, I don't know if the same people who constructed Galos at the Capitol uh, would be worried about Mike Pence treatment with classified documents with this administration. It's a lot to unpack with that. Here's something else, Austin, just to jump into something else here that really is this is a pet peeve. So two proposals that Democrats made yesterday is aimed at. He says we get MLK Day off. Two proposals aimed at curbing the spread of assault rifles were submitted by Dianne Feinstein of California and Richard Blumenthal and Chris Murphy of Connecticut. The assault weapons ban is seeking to prohibit the commercialization, distribution, production, and importation of assault rifles and other firearms designed for use in military operations, as well as high-capacity magazines and similar devices. And this is in response to the Lunar New Year incident in Monterey Park, where 11 people were killed and 9 were injured. Democrats are proposing the Age 21 Act, which would make it illegal to sell or buy an assault weapon to anybody under 21. First of all, that should already be the law. But
Thank you. Thank you.
But the other thing, as I started with this pet peeve, is that every single time there's a mass shooting, and there's been many now. I think it was 660 something last year. And the mass shooting, they define if it's 3 or more, not including the shooter. But they want to come up with a law. It's always a reaction or reflex, more of a reflex, because this sounds good right now, and then it goes nowhere. This is going nowhere.
Yeah, and you recall just walking back in history. I don't know when the first gun violence law came into being, but my first recollection, having read about it, was in the United States Senate in 1968, after the assassinations of Martin Luther King and Senator Robert Kennedy. So that's a very good point, and it's also a pet peeve of mine. But here's the deal. What has happened to our country with gun violence? And I think we have to look at why, we're the most developed nation in the world. And how can we have this type of violence when most underdeveloped nations in the world, they got their problems, but they don't have a problem on gun violence. I was listening to the news last night, and there was a police chief somewhere up in Connecticut, who said that all of the cases of violence that he's been called to the scene to deal with his officers, he said in the last 6 months, not all of them have been gun related. Gone are the days when you're breaking up fights with with a person who has a knife. And with regard to members of Congress, and I don't wish ill upon anybody.
Say where I was going. Go ahead.
Yep, but only when these members of Congress start themselves losing family members, loved ones, only then will it become real, and will they take action. You recall in January 2012 when Congresswoman Gabby Gifford was shot. And hell, I worked for 3 members of Congress. I know what it's like to be doing campaign appearances in the district on the weekends. And never in my wildest imagination did it occur to me that someone could walk up to harm the congressman or the member I was working for, and I or innocent bystanders might innocently get hurt. When that happened, I said, okay, this is going to hit home in a bipartisan manner with members of Congress. And thank God she survived. But I believe she lost 2 staffers who were staffing her. And I think one bystander at the grocery store was also killed. So only when this starts hitting, Mitch McConnell's family and Kevin McCarthy's family, will these folks start to take this seriously.
Then, Austin, even then, think about this. January 6th, the insurrection, right? All their lives were in jeopardy. And then they slept on it after they got it, that they survived it. They slept on it, and then they went right back to politics as usual.
Exactly.
So, and maybe that's even not enough.
Exactly. But you know what also is going to take with the survivors or the families of these innocent victims is having a Mamie Till moment. When they say, I remember how Mamie Till showed Emmett's body, said, no, do not do anything. Do not, let the world see what they have done to my baby. I hope, I wish, I pray that at least some of these families come forward and say, no, I want folks to see what an AK-47 does to anybody, particularly that of a child. And maybe that will
Yeah.
begin to change some minds of those, Republicans in the Congress. I mean, if you look at the, all of the recent polls, they all, 70, 80% are in support of constructive gun laws.
Hmm.
And I'm tired of hearing about the rights of gun owners.
Hmm.
I don't have a gun, but hell,
Right.
what about my damn rights?
Right.
If you want to see, if you want to, and I do believe in the right to own,
Hmm.
and to, but I think it has to be done, in a mature and responsible manner. And clearly, what's happening now, more needs to be done. But I live over here in Oxon Hill, Maryland. You want to see some crazy looking people? Go to the grocery store. Go to the CVS. I mean, there are times I walk in there, and not just Oxon Hill, but I was up in Philadelphia at my mom at Target, and you just walk around, just observe people. You see some people who you just say, something's not, they're
Something's
dealing,
right.
he or she is dealing with a lot,
Yeah.
and the fact that there's nowhere we can go
Yeah.
and feel safe.
Listen, Paris Brown says take the mass funerals to the steps of the Capitol. Mike V says while Republicans, and this is I like Paris's point. This is a good point Mike V is making, that is often overlooked. When Republicans was whining about the defund the police movement, he said they were defunding the ATF that keeps track of those firearms to prevent mass shootings. So
Very good point. Very good point.
it's a great point. Again, the fact that these laws, is nothing against Dianne Feinstein, and the other Democrats. Biden released a statement too, supporting these laws, of course, or proposed laws, and it's nothing against them, but it's just the fact that it's always a day late and a dollar short. Um, Austin, I've been looking forward to discussing this little topic, but before I do, I have to mention this. So I took the family to see Phantom of the Opera last night on Broadway. We had a Karen moment. My youngest daughter had a Karen moment. Lady sitting in front of her. We were in the let's put it this way, we had pretty good seats, right? Lady in front of her was complaining that my daughter was eating candy that they sold at the theater. And I'm ready to give it to this lady, and she's going on and on. And my wife was like, "Okay, just ignore her. Just ignore her." Like,
This is
Karen?
during the show.
Yes. Like to us, I was like, "We are not doing this tonight." That's what my wife said.
Good.
We're not doing this tonight, Karen.
That's what you said. Good.
Give
Good.
me a
Good.
break. Oh, not with my little girl.
No,
We're not. It's not happening. So you
yeah,
turn
these.
around. I'm gonna give her more candy. And I said to I said, would you like some chips? I got some. We are not doing this. Shoot.
No.
Oh boy. But anyway.
White privilege, even at Phantom of the Opera.
Phantom of the Opera. So they said we should be going to see. No, there's a black lead too. I mean, she was fantastic too. Fantastic. The whole show was fantastic. But
yeah. So I got to ask you, Brother Stacy. So what happened when the show was over? Were any words or comments exchanged? Or
no, because I made sure to stand by and escort my girls out, and I had some choice words. If she would, I had some very, very killing with kindness type words. I'll put it that
okay,
way. Power
okay.
96 says, I wish a Karen would. We had Stephanie Mills on the show not long ago, or we did something with Stephanie Mills, and Stephanie said, I wish a Karen would. I said, Stephanie Mills, all of 3 foot tall, and she was like, bring it.
And Stace, I gotta ask you: did you put some chips in your mouth and just
Oh, I did.
Crunch down a little louder than normal?
Yes, absolutely. You know it.
Good for you,
I was
brother.
ruffling
Good for you.
paper and everything. Yeah.
Good for you.
Don't. I mean, she could have said it to me. It'd have been different. but you went
To
after
your
the,
child.
you know, the
Mm-hmm.
the youngest too.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Mm-hmm.
mm-mm. And she bears my name.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Her name is Stacy Brown.
Okay.
We ain't going for it.
Good for
Uh,
you, Dad.
Austin, listen to this. This is a who done it. This is a um I gotta hear. I want our viewers to chime in on this so bad. Plenty of restaurants use social media as a way to promote their food and atmosphere. But when one Indian eatery in England shared a video of happy diners enjoying their favorite dishes, they got a very unexpected response. The clip was captioned, quote, join us for a perfect blend of exquisite flavors with classical and unique dishes inspired by ancient family recipes. But it wasn't the food that one woman saw. The viewer named Lucy Watson responded to the clip by asking, how old is this footage? My late husband and his son are on the first shot. And by the way, he died in 2014. The restaurant clammed up. They said, uh, sorry to hear this. This footage was recorded last week.
Last week.
Oh my gosh. Are you kidding
Uh,
me?
I mean,
This
talk about. I mean, talk about being busted.
yeah, this guy's supposed to have been dead for 9 years. And she's seeing this ad in the restaurant, and there he was.
Can you imagine what that reunion is going to be like?
Oh, she's hunting him down, and
Yeah.
and you know the commenters, the commenters went in. And one person wrote, "I need to know what's going on ASAP. We need
Yep.
closure on this." And
Exactly.
someone else said,
Exactly.
"Can we have an update? I'm invested now." And then somebody suggested that the husband faked his own death, while others were certain that Lucy was just a plant and this was all a publicity stunt. Um, but it doesn't appear to be that.
No.
Because
No.
somebody
No.
says, I was there on this day and the flatbread that I ordered arrived after our main course. It was my late nan. Oh my.
Wow. Wow.
It's
Wow.
unbelievable. We got so the Facebook page that this is going on, by the way, everybody, is Spice Cottage's Facebook, Spice Cottage. Um, I'm gonna keep checking to see if there's updates because the
And we're at this
response.
restaurant, Stacy. I'm sorry. We're at this restaurant again.
You know what? I'm not sure what I got caught up in everything else except where exactly the restaurant, but it's Spice Cottage. Spice, look at Terry Sanders says, "Oh my, he wishes he was dead if he's not."
Exactly. Exactly. You know, that reminds me of the case on 9/11 in New York City, where a husband got up, left his wife, said that he was going to work. He worked in the Twin Towers, and he was with his mistress, and they did not have on the television.
Mm,
And she's frantically calling the office. He had his cell phone off, and he finally cuts it on at around 10:30.
mm,
And she says, where are you? And he says, what do you mean, where am I? I'm at work.
mm,
Where at work?
mm.
I'm at the
Good
Twin Towers.
night.
So I mean, also, I mean, needless to say, they are divorced, and that marriage ended.
Oh my. Wow.
But
Yeah, he's at
wow, this man is still
he's alive.
let his family believe that he's deceased for 9 years.
Yeah. Yeah, she is certain that was him. Somebody said, they likened it to John Darwin. He faked his death for a life insurance scam.
Yeah,
Mm, mm,
yeah,
mm.
yeah. Yeah, I wonder. I'd be curious to know with this story. What was his cause of, alleged cause of death. I mean, she didn't view a body. There was
Right.
no funeral. There was no autopsy. I mean, I'd be
Nope.
curious.
And Power 96 says, sounds like old buddy played dead to get away from his wife. Did she collect the insurance money? Paris wants to be kept informed. She says she wants to be informed.
Paris, I'm gonna follow this. I'm gonna keep me posted.
I saw this. I said, "Wait a minute. This is interesting. This is I'm tired, so we need some we need some
Something light.
levity here.
Yeah. Something light. Yep.
But I mean, that is not light to this lady, that's for sure.
No.
Oh my God.
She's going to track him down. And as
Oh,
my
he's
brother
done.
said earlier, if he's not dead, he can wish he was.
Yeah, he's done. He's toast. He's done. He's absolutely done. Look, yeah, we mentioned what Terry Sanders said. Terry, we're gonna put Terry on this case. We're gonna have the Omaha Star investigate what's going on at Spice Cottages.
Perfect.
She and Paris Brown at the Baltimore Times. It's gonna be a joint black press thing. The Baltimore Times and the Omaha Star investigates.
They will have they will have their own congressional committee investigating.
Yeah, exactly. Look, Austin, we Terry says she gives us a 4 thumbs up, not just 2 thumbs up.
Okay, go Terry.
but Austin, we appreciate you, man, for breaking all of this down. We got the Trump thing to follow, but more importantly, we got this mystery at the restaurant to follow.
I know, exactly. Hey, even Trump even Trump wants to know, is he alive?
Trump wants to know, right? I wonder if he's gonna take Silk with him to the restaurant to find out if he ever figures out who she is.
Wasn't that crazy?
That guy's off the chain. What are we gonna do here, Austin? Unbelievable. Look, we got a lot more coming up. Again, we encourage you all to subscribe to our YouTube page, Let It Be Known's YouTube page. We got some exciting stuff coming up. Austin is a part of that excitement. So Mike V wants to get the last word. He says maybe his name is George Santos.
Ooh. That's a good one.
George got George was married. One of the latest unbelievable stories of this guy. He was married and was engaged to someone else. He was engaged to a guy. He was married to a woman. He was engaged to some guy. And when the guy found out he was married, he called off the engagement. Santos, of course, pretended he wasn't married. Whatever. That guy.
He needs help. He needs to be out of
Congress
and in a mental institution. That's where he needs to be.
Not in a mental institution, Austin. I submit he needs to be locked up in prison, right?
Yep.
And then let a therapist visit him in prison. That's where he could get his therapy from. That guy is just incredible.
But nothing's going to. I believe that unless someone indicts him, maybe the governor of Brazil. I believe that he will remain in Congress.
Would they extradite him? Would they extradite him if Brazil indicts him?
I don't know. I know with an American court, if you're indicted, then you have to step down. I don't know what the congressional rules and guidelines are for a foreign indictment. But if not, then he will likely be on the House Committee on Small Business and another committee he's on, and he will do 1 term and be voted out in November of next year, because he's going to keep lying, and the lies will eventually lead to his downfall. I don't know if prison, but will certainly lead to his downfall and being removed from from Congress.
Yeah,
or voted out of Congress rather.
Yeah, interesting. Wow. So you think there's a chance that he may be able to survive the 2 years in Congress?
Yeah. With I mean, what can he possibly say or do for McCarthy to turn against him? Nothing.
George Santos is a national security risk.
Yeah, I saw that.
Wow. Power 96 says George Santos. Is that his real name? Who knows?
Who knows?
Listen, what I do know is that we will be back here tomorrow to bring you some up-to-date news and maybe even some updates on the restaurant situation. But thank you all so much for joining Let It Be Known. And again, subscribe to our YouTube page. Can't hurt. We'll see you tomorrow.
Take care. Thanks.